Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We sure are.
And we're excited. We have Lauren Schneider back on with us today. We're going to be talking about multidimensional intelligence of dreams, the psychic internet, and Tarotpy. So, welcome back, Lauren. We're really excited to have you with us again today.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be back with you both. And this is my favorite conversation. So, dreams and therapy.
Yes, yes, ours as well. We really enjoyed our last conversation and gave a person a lot to think about with, how your dreams and how you can use the tarot to, kind of connect the two and get those messages that we need in our lives right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people, we're in a very interesting time of great transition, and both personally and collectively. And I think that people are really needing tools to navigate these times. And these kind of tools, working with divination, whether it's dreams or therapy, um, really help us connect to the deepest part of ourselves. And that part of us is always balanced and has the right intuition to meet the moment. So I feel that this is so helpful.
Yes, I agree. And because like I do dream journal as I shared on the last one, it's really interesting sometimes because you have these dreams and they seem so random. Like last night I had a dream that my husband accidentally used my work credit card for something at a yoga studio, which is like just really beyond anything, for $22.10. So it was a very interesting dream. I did not actually pull any tarot cards on it, but it was a
Okay.
really interesting dream because I guess because I've been off of work for a week and I'm going back. So my interpretation of it is I'm just maybe nervous about what I'm walking back into is kind of just how I took that. But yeah, I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting. What would be your swing on that?
Well, I'm really curious about the 2210. Um, it's a very specific number, and I really like your interpretation. That makes sense. I wonder what's different about your husband, what kind of credit have you gotten by being off of work? Has that been valuable for the relationship? Those are the kind of questions I would ask. And but that 2210 is really curious to me.
Yeah, it was to me too, because I was like, it's so specific, right? Like it,
So specific.
yeah. So I'll
Well,
have to pull some cards on it later, maybe. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wonder 22, I would think of 2022 and the next 10 years. Has something significantly happened since 22 for you? Those are questions I might also ask. I mean, dream work is really about having an interaction with the dreamer and asking questions so that we can open up the dream. To me, it's like opening up the petals of a flower. As we start to talk about it, it'll evoke associations, and you'll start to connect to, oh yeah.
that's what it was. Yeah, I
That's
love.
usually true. I'm
Very.
just thinking about how dreams really do help people at times of change and upheaval. And it reminds me of a time of great upheaval in my life when I was 25 and I had left my job and basically my career in television. I had studied to be a film theorist and then went into production. And I left. And I also left an affair with the editor on the job. And then I was told that my rental home was being sold. So I had no home, no job, no boyfriend. I'd
Well,
come to the end of the path in what I thought was my path in life and had no idea what I was going to do. And I had a dream in which I was brought to meet a guru named Lawrence. And when I first came to meet the guru, and he hugged me along with all these different people in the room. I didn't feel anything. And I thought, well, I'm not into gurus anyway. And then he came back around, and this time we lined up again. And when he hugged me this time, he whispered in my ear, "You'll have a home and a job and so much more." And I felt energy in my body I'd never felt in my life. And then Lawrence came to me over the next 2 years and did healings on me that I had not ever experienced in my waking life. So we did a hands on healing. He was a doctor in a conference and analyzed me. He was a therapist in a private session with me. He did work on me I had no experience of in waking life. And I realized that there is a consciousness and a healing consciousness that knows who we are and who we're meant to be, far beyond our conscious sense of self. And that's what started me in dream work.
That's amazing. So, did those healings and the different therapies that he did with you, was that during your waking hours or during your dreaming hours?
Dreaming.
Interesting.
Well, and there were significant healings. And his whispering in my ears gave me hope for myself and a vision for myself that I did not have previously. Now, I could look at Lawrence as the male form of Lauren. And so this is the masculine in my psyche. But Lawrence was real. And he's come back in through therapy as well. So when I've pulled cards, that same hunky blonde guru shows up. And I feel like he's been with me ever since in my life as a guide.
Well,
So yeah,
Wow,
he's
that's
really,
interesting. And
yes,
I
it
think
is.
they do come to us in our dreams because I think a lot of time in our waking hours, we don't make that space for them to come in and talk to us. So,
oh, I think that's a good point. Absolutely. And I also, I know that for me, I mean, Lawrence was quite um, stunning because I did not have a bigger concept of myself. And it was in my unconscious. I think our unconscious is this remarkable, unlimited reservoir of creativity. And I believe that it has the blueprint of who we are and who we're meant to be, and that we're going to meet our larger selves and see our life unfolding in our dreams that we haven't quite consciously been able to envision yet.
mhm.
But I agree with you. I think we have to make space for that. We have to make space to be able to capture our dreams.
Yeah, and I think it's
Um,
interesting too how you sort of were not at the end of the road, but so to speak, right? All this chaos, everything kind of was coming to an ending. And I think so often that we need that in order to push us into the direction that we're really truly supposed to go, especially if we're just sort of running that hamster wheel and we're just like, how do we get off of this? And it's like, you know, our higher conscious God, universe, whatever you want to say, pushes that down on us to say, okay, well, here, I'm going to help you out. Here's a shove off
exactly,
the hamster
exactly.
wheel.
And along those lines of making space, it's like when we let go of our preconceived ideas and our plans and our strategies, I was at a loss. And so that opened up so much space because I didn't know what I was meant to do next. And first I had that dreams. And then the next summer, two strangers, 2 weeks apart, handed me divination tools, tarot and
Well,
I Ching, and said, "You're supposed to walk with them." And that changed my life. I went back to school, got my MA and a master's program on marriage and family therapy. But I walked into that master's program with tarot in one pocket and I Ching in the other. And that began this incredibly inspiring journey for me. I would never have thought that I was supposed to work with divination tools. So it really is when we let go and get off that hamster wheel, that the universe has an opportunity to step in and to nudge us in a direction that may be far more authentic and fulfilling.
Yes, agreed. So you
So
were going to share some dreams with us, and we were going to talk about that and how that, plays into, this multidimensional intelligence out in our world.
yeah, so I really I'm sorry, I have two thoughts going at the same time. Let me grab one of them. That idea that we have this extraordinary intelligence in our unconscious that is available to us through dreams. And to begin with, the next series of dreams that I had that were so profound was when I got pregnant for the first time. And I had two dreams in a row. It was exactly the same dream, except for it added uh, another symbol with the second dream because I hadn't gotten it the first time. And it was that I was returning a gray round sack purse to a mall, and it had makeup in it, and the makeup was blood red. In the first dream, it was eyeshadow. In the second dream, it was blush. And I returned the makeup and I said, the makeup's not right for me. And the woman behind the counter said, oh, but that's the latest style. And she put blush on my cheeks. And I said, no, I look like a clown. This makeup's not right for me. And I woke up from that dream and I said, I'm going to miscarry. And I just understood it because the symbol of the purse, that added symbol made me understand this was the uterus
Mhm.
and that the blood red makeup of the baby was not right. But I also wasn't ready to wear the persona of motherhood yet. And I did miscarry the next week. And that dream, first of all, completely reassured me that it was okay that this baby did not come through. And also, it just made me aware that, oh my goodness, dreams can see exactly what's going on in our body and in our psyche, our psychology. And in that one image, it got all of that for me. And then 2 months later, dreamt that I was chasing bunny rabbits and caught one. And I woke
Well,
up and I said, we need a pregnancy test. And I was pregnant with my daughter. And at 3 months pregnant, I saw in my dream a little girl about 3 years old with brown, blonde, curly hair swimming across a hot tub. And I said, I'm having a daughter. It was my daughter at 3 years old. So
wow.
I knew I was having a daughter before I got the ultrasound. And then a month before I gave birth, I had a dream where there was a mother walking down the sidewalk with a girl in one hand and a boy in the other. And I came and I took the girl's hand, and a voice said, that's right, the girl comes first.
Wow. That gave me chills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I had a series of dreams of a little boy. I have to preface this by saying I got my license the same week I gave birth to my daughter. So I had two babies at the same time and really was torn because I was passionate about my work and being torn in two directions. I wanted to be taking care of my baby and I also wanted to develop my practice. And I began to have dreams of a little boy in the middle of the street and trucks going both ways and my screaming to save him. And I kept having dreams that told me a little boy was coming in, and my son was born 4 years later.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
that's it. Yeah, it's an example of how dreams can see what's going on in the body, what's going on in our emotions, our psychology. They have an ability to tell us what's coming. They're prescient, precognitive. So at the level of the unconscious, there's no boundaries in time and space. And we can have all of that, as I said, all of that information that can help us navigate our lives.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think that's a good thing, you know, it's interesting because I actually had a dream which I did share with my son's girlfriend because I was like, I had this dream of this little girl and it looked just like her. Long blonde curly hair and these big, big eyes like my son's, and I knew it was their baby and it has not yet come to fruition, but she had on a little cross. And I just remember that was a really, really important part of the dream. And so when I relate it to Taylor, she had said to me, oh, my grandma gave me a cross when I was younger. So I think that is just a sign that this is going to come to be. And I'm like, well, you know, I can't take care of my dreams. So I'm just, you know, I can't know what they're going to be, but I'm sharing it with you because at that point she was worried that maybe would they ever, move to that next level to have that family. And so I think that dream was coming in at that time to say, yeah, absolutely, they're going to when the time is right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it really is a very important part of dreams too, that we can dream about others and that we can get very important information for them, and sharing it is so important. And it also makes me think about, that cross coming from her grandmother. The gift of the dream came through you, as you would be a grandmother for that baby. So it's
True.
coming through great mothers to support her just when she needs it, to know that that relationship can move forward.
Yes, exactly. And mom had a really good one the other day that she was sharing with me, and you can explain a little bit more about the cord cutting because that was a really relevant healing thing for you, I think. So you want to share that with Lauren and our
Yeah, it
thoughts?
was very interesting. I dreamt there was a person standing with me in the dream, and their top was all like threads. And so I had a scissors and I was cutting the threads off the top. And it was like, oh my goodness, I'm cutting cords. I'm releasing stuff, is what I was thought afterwards, sort of thing. But I just kept cutting these cords and cutting these threads and cutting these threads during the dream and thinking, wow, I'm busy, but at the same time, I must be doing something that's good because this is what I'm doing. What would you think that would be?
I'm just going to say back to you, very often the dreamer really does understand the dream, and it sounds like you really got it. And I'm just going to ask, when you woke up, did you feel a sense of liberation? Of
I did because after I woke up and thought about it for a minute, I thought, oh my goodness. I went, and it did. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm actually cutting threads, cutting cords of people and things that I don't need anymore. And my dreams are telling me, you need to do this now, right? And there was just so many to cut off. And I just thought, wow, that's telling me there's a lot of things I need to be shedding and getting myself ready for the next something that else is coming, right? Because I was busy. you know?
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is good. And I've been going
Yeah.
through some emotional stuff, so it made sense to me, you know, that makes sense. And I'm cutting those away. So yeah,
And the other thing is that you actually were embodying it. You could really feel yourself cutting them. And
yeah,
so that's a very significant action you were taking in the dream that's can be fully embodied in your waking life, being free of so many of those cords that aren't serving you anymore.
exactly. And because I've been feeling things around the house too, so I knew something was coming up, sort of thing. Then I needed to change, sort of thing in the dream, just even said it more. I'm a person that dreams. I feel like I'm awake still where I'm dreaming. And sometimes I'll even ask my partner, did I even sleep? And then they'll say, oh yeah, you were snoring, you were sleeping. So I know that I was actually dreaming, but it was like I had never slept a dream. Pretty cool actually. What does that mean? Anything in particular, or does that just mean I don't go deep enough?
It sounds like you were aware that you weren't going deep enough and that something else, a deeper level of sleep was being wanted. I mean, dreams are very, very specific. So it may have given you that information that you weren't sleeping at a deep level. Um, they can be so specific, like the dream about my miscarriage. They're also very practical. And that's what I call the psychic internet. So, again, when we're asleep, we have this access to information that is beyond time and space, and also information that you've shared about, which is that something is in the process of being envisioned, not yet manifest. So, this was a very practical dream that I had when I was a young mother. I had a van, and I was tired of driving a mommy van, and I had a lease on it, and it was time to give it up. And I wanted a smaller car but I also needed like 7 seats because I was doing carpooling. And that car didn't exist on the market yet. So I was envisioning it and trying to figure out what I was going to get next. And I spent, a month or two searching for a car and couldn't find anything. And the day I had to give this Toyota back, I had a dream with a license plate in front of my face in big block letters saying Buick. And I woke up and I told my husband the dream. And I said, so why couldn't it say Lexus? And I said, I don't like American cars. I hope this is okay. But I don't like American cars. They tend to become obsolete in a couple of years. They start to fall apart because it's all about consumerism. And I don't like Buicks. And he said, yes, but you know your dreams. You have to go and check this out. So I went to the Buick dealer and I wasn't going to tell him I've had a dream and I'm supposed to find a Buick. But I just went and started looking at his cards, and he said, lady, there are cars on this lot I wouldn't even sell you because they actually can roll. And you're a mother, I wouldn't do that. I went back home. My husband said, you know your dreams. I went back again. I went back 3 times. And the third time, the guy who did not know what I was looking for finally said, you know, I I just got a Xerox of this car that's in production. It has not been advertised. There's no promotion for it. I don't know what you're looking for, but here it is. Here's the Xerox. It's a smaller car with 7 seats. And that was one of the first SUVs. And I said, that's it. That's our car. And I bought it before it was off the assembly line. Or
Oh,
actually,
wow.
I leased it for 2 years because it did start to fall apart after 2 years. But it was a perfect car. It had been designed by a woman. It was called a Rendezvous. And it had everything I wanted as a mom, including beeping when I was backing up. So I stopped, hitting my bumper as a tired mom. That's how practical and specific dreams are. This car was not even, you know, promoted yet, had not fully manifest. But it's like the psychic internet. We can pick up all of that stuff.
Do you
That's why
think
you heard.
everybody can do prophetic dreaming, or do you think that we need to teach ourselves to do that? Or are our dreams somewhat, I don't know how to explain it, like somewhat just like fantasy, but yet prophetic in some ways?
Well, I think that we all have the capability of having dreams guide us and having profound dreams. There's kind of a typography of dreams. The Native Americans would say some of our dreams are no nonsense dreams, they're not meaningful dreams. I've never found that. I've never found a dream to be unmeaningful. I'm fascinated with every dream, and I think when you start to tease them out, you will find deep personal meaning and maybe even something beyond that. Um, but there are different levels of dreams, and I do believe we're all capable of dreaming, but that we have to develop that muscle. And it goes back to what you were saying, which is making space for the dreams. Um, when we wake up, if we wake up with an alarm, it's going to shatter the dream, send it back into the unconscious. And they're very delicate, like butterflies. We have to be willing to, slowly approach them and be gentle about it and be quiet about it. So when we wake up in the morning, we need to not have an alarm. If we have a commitment to start remembering our dreams, at least for the first 5 minutes to lay in bed and just recall anything you're waking up with, any feelings, any image, song, you know, sometimes nothing, but have a commitment to write it down no matter what. So if you just spent the first 5 minutes just trying to tease back whatever you've woken up with, if you start to if you have a feeling and you stay with that, that might pull the dream back. If you have an image and you stay with that, that'll start to pull more images. And then after 5, 10 minutes, write it down. If you have nothing, write, I didn't get anything. But if you do that for about 2 weeks, you'll start to capture dreams. And once you start to capture dreams, one of the things that it's important is to know how to pay attention to them and to start to learn the language of the dreams. I began my dream work by getting together with 6 friends and hiring a woman for the first year who was a dream guide. And then we let her go. We met once a month for 10 years. And we just listened to the dreams, and the dreams taught me the language of dreams. So it helps to talk to somebody who understands dream language, because then you start to realize how important the dreams are to you. And you will then commit more to capturing them. And you'll start to notice that the dreams not only are giving you very specific guidance for your life, but you may start to notice that there's precognitive information too. Yes, I think we all have different levels. I think there are people that are very, very gifted at technology, and I can't do that. To, I'm pretty rudimentary about how I do it. I couldn't do that as a business. We all have different language that we tune into, and I'm a big dreamer. So I don't know that everybody's going to have big collective dreams, but I can tell you that I've worked with dream groups. I've run dream groups for 30 years. And I was running a dream group for training therapists. And I would always look at what the collective aspect of the dream was, as well as the personal. And there was always a collective aspect of it, because we don't live in a vacuum. We don't dream in a vacuum. We are part of nature. We are part of our culture. And we are going to pick up what's going on in it. So we had a bunch of dreams that were in one group with 9 people. There were at least 8 dreams about Africa and the issue of shortage of water. And this was back in the late 90s. We're looking at water shortages now. So that ecological concern was in the dreams. And I don't think anybody was a particularly we're particularly strong, we're not strong dreamers. We all have it.
Yeah.
It's about
I,
creating that space, paying attention.
do you think when we dream then that sometimes like I believe that we have a soul society and our ancestral lineage and things like that. Do you think that when we dream, we bring in those guides and that soul society of ours to help us get the messages that we need?
Absolutely. I'll just reflect that I'm imagining that you get those kind of guidances in your dreams from ancestors and soul guides. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think we can be introduced to our ancestors through the dreams and to our soul guides. Lawrence was a soul guide for me. And as I said, when I first met him, I was not into gurus, but I realized I had met a soulmate. And I did not know my family history. Um, and that began to come through dreams and precognitive dreams. So I learned about my ancestors through the dreams. Um, I also began to have a series of whale dreams that have been very profound. Again, I think the whales were talking um, with their sonar ability. I believe that they were trying to communicate through dreams to wake us up as to what's going on in the ocean. I began to have these in the late 90s, and they've been profound dreams. Um, and one of the things I realized um, in my dream community, somebody gave a talk about how if your ancestors are not healthy, if they died violently, which mine did, if they're hungry ghosts or they're not at peace, then you might not be able to go to your ancestors for the guidance that you need. But you can also go to other ancestors. And so what will come through are like the whales, or another example is with Tarotpy. So if somebody doesn't have a dream, I invite them to do Tarotpy, which is like dreaming with your eyes open, where they can pick cards out of a multiplicity of decks. I do believe it's kind of like handing a paintbrush to the soul and asking them to paint a picture for you of what you need to know. And I was working with a woman whose soulmate was dying. I worked with her over a couple of years, and the dream, the therapy, she'd come in once a month and do a therapy. There were times where she would come in saying, I was going to cancel because I'm so overwhelmed. And by the end of the session, she would be so inspired. And she had a very particular relationship with nature. She would go out and she would visit Grandfather Tree when she was in her waking life. She'd walk to see Grandfather Tree and she'd lean into Grandfather Tree and he would help support her and give her resilience around the dying of her soulmate. And there came a time where she broke her leg and couldn't go visit Grandfather Tree, and he began to come through the images. So
Wow.
Grandfather Tree and the tree people came through the images, and she had that same sense of solace, of guidance, of being with her community through the images. And that helped her to get through. And that's what I meant, where she would just have, by the end of the session, be so inspired and so comforted and resilient. And we watched the journey of her soulmate because when he died, he began to come through as a soul on the other side.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, that is really amazing.
Very
I
cool.
just, as we were sitting here, I don't know why, but I'm just going to share. It had nothing to do with really, well, sort of with the topic that we're talking about, but have you ever thought about making a Tarotpy Oracle card deck? It kept coming through in when you were talking, and I'm just like, I just need to share that information with you. So,
Oh my goodness. I have been told that so many times, but I have to say, the way you're saying it, I think I just better listen and say yes. I had never wanted or needed to make a therapy deck because there are so many decks out there. I have 50 plus, and when I run monthly groups, and the participants come in with more decks that I've never seen that are so fabulous. There's so many decks that I didn't need to do one. But when I did my book, the art director said, you need to have a card for the beginning of each chapter. And I said, Susan, I have 104 images in this book because they for my cases. And I don't think I need more images. And she said, no, you need that to ground it. And so she hired an artist and he did the beautiful image of the woman dancing on Freud's couch, which is on the cover of the book. And then he did 9 images in all. And the one he did for the magician was a therapist. He had never met me. It looked exactly like me. It
Wow.
had a teacup, which I always have with me. And then he went back and said, I need to draw a butterfly on that teacup for some reason. And I have a butterfly as a totem. Um, so that would become the deck eventually. And
interesting.
thank you for sharing that.
You're
I
welcome.
obviously
As you
told
were
I need.
talking, I just kept seeing it, and it's just like this, like almost from my gut of like, I need to share this with her because this is such an important thing for you as a, I don't know, next step or along your journey or something. But anyways, I thought I'd share that.
Thank you. I heard it loud and clear. I think I need to just say yes and know that that's going to evolve.
You're welcome.
Um, I wonder if you want to hear about a collective dream that I had in 2012.
Yes, we absolutely would.
Okay, so um, we're dealing with very interesting times. We're dealing with a lot of upheaval of our socio-political norms. We're dealing with climate change. And my dreams began to really try to get my attention as big collective dreams. Well, since the whale dreams in the late 90s, but in 2012, they really started to come through. And 2012 is an interesting date because it's the end of the Mayan calendar, and everybody was paying particular attention because they were afraid it could be the end of the world. And this is the dream that came through. I'm in the Empire State Building, and I'm looking down, and the Empire State Building is on stilts. And in the next moment, I'm in the ocean, and I see a tsunami coming, and I know the Empire State Building will be knocked over, and I know that I will die. And I say, oh, so this is what it is to die. If I close my eyes, it will all be peaceful. It's only the transition that's scary. And I woke up from that dream and I said, oh, this is about the Empire State Building or the state of the empire. This is about an empire that's in decline. And our structures, our um, democratic structures, are going to be knocked down to their foundations. And that started a whole series of collective dreams. But that was such a huge dream that I chose a couple cards to give me further guidance on the dream. And I'll share those with you if technology will work for me. All right, let me know if you can see those.
Don't see anything yet.
Yeah.
It's thinking.
There we go.
Yes. Can you see them now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I pulled these two cards, and what you can see is the Tower card, like the Empire State Building on one side, and a woman going into the ocean on the other side. So the synchronicity was stunning. And I began to lean into Tarotpy like a scaffolding to hold me while I knew that these structures were being rearranged. And the other thing that's interesting about the Tower card on the left is that this deck, the Voyager deck, was developed in 1983, and James Wanless, who created it, used the Twin Towers for the Tower card. So in 1983, he actually did a prescient Tower card of the Twin Towers coming down. And you also can see the Midas figure. You see a gold icon. So we can see that we have the Midas archetype, where money has been associated too strongly with the tower and been made too important, like a god, and that is going to come down. And the tower archetype is really the times we're in right now. 9/11 was a tower archetype. Donald Trump is a tower archetype. He is associated with that black tower with his gold name on it. And you can see the tower coming up a lot in movies, in all kinds of things. It's just in the collective. And what it means is it's a time where established structures are being shaken up so that something new can be born. And it can feel like the transition is scary. It can be very scary to have this much upheaval. But if I can refer back to, what we were talking about when I first got introduced to dreams and tarot and I Ching, this is happening on a collective level where we're being shaken off of our path. And that allows something new to be born and to come in. And I think we're in a profound transition into a new mythology. And if I were looking at my dreams and if I were to ask other people about theirs, what seems to keep coming up is that there's a rise of the great feminine.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I thought it was interesting, the cards, because what really caught my attention in the Tower card was the Raven. And so for me, that's always about messages. So it's really interesting because it was like there's so many messages that are coming in with everything that happened with 9/11 and our economy and things like that. But in the end, it's like this sacrificing of the self to release that from us in order to get to that pot at the end of the rainbow when I was looking at them, right? So it was like you can see how that collective message is coming across by those cards and by what you said, and how
Absolutely.
relevant that is to today's society.
Absolutely. And thank you for taking it there. It's absolutely correct, too, that we need to sacrifice aspects of the self for the larger community. And you hit it right on. The piece I didn't share is the beginning of the dream was sitting with my dream teacher, who's an actual teacher or waking life guru. And he said to me, the self doesn't develop until one immerses oneself in the collective. And it was then that I looked down, saw the water, and knew that I needed to die to the water. I think that we do need to surrender our personal egos and our attachment to certain aspects of survival. You know, I have to have this in order to survive, to actually become part of community in a new way.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you think that maybe to the water signifies almost like a rebirthing, like a baptismal of sorts? I don't really love that word, but kind of a baptismal of sorts of coming into this collective consciousness where we're really communing with others that have the same ideals as us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know, the ocean to me is also the great collective unconscious. So to surrender that individuality to the collective unconscious, I think you're absolutely right. It's like a baptism, and that something new wants to be rebirthed. So I also think of the ocean as the great mother,
Mhm.
as a birthing, you know, that water. And yes, absolutely. And so I think, I hope this is not too abstract, but what I've been seeing in the dreams is that we need to get beyond not only individualism, but dualities,
Mhm.
because what's wanting to happen is a unified consciousness, which
Yeah.
is also the great ocean. And what we're seeing right now with these huge polarities, you know, huge polarities in our country, polarities in the Senate, huge polarities in the world, we feel like we're being pulled apart by these polarities. I believe that that kind of chaos happens when an old paradigm no longer serves. So it becomes chaotic, it becomes more extreme.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is pulling apart because we're needing to get to a place beyond that.
Do you think this could foretell? I'm sorry, my brain is everywhere. Do you think this
Oh,
could foretell almost bringing back almost kind of to like Atlantis, where, the structure had to break down. It had to, because nobody was listening, is my feeling with that. And so this complete city just was gone. And so it's almost like when I see that those cards, it's kind of what it reminds me of. And it's like this breakdown in society, and we need that in order to move up and raise our levels of consciousness.
yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think about, since you just said that about Atlantis, that that was a place where I believe that the Alexandrian Library was really well celebrated. It makes me think about even all of that knowledge had to dissolve so that we could learn knowledge from a different place, that we need to go inward, that the depths of information are inside of us. You can hear how important dreaming or these divination tools are for community. You know, we're all part of dreaming up society in a new way. And I very much want to listen to other people's dreams as a way to understand collectively how we navigate. Yeah, I think it's incredibly important because there's information that is, I don't think we've yet learned how to create this community.
Is there
I
somewhere
agree.
on your, sorry, go ahead, Mom.
No, I said I think it is universal. We're trying to get the information universally so we're all connected. And I think because of the way it's going now, like so more and more people are getting onto the spiritual side where they're listening to their dreams and they're listening to patterns of thought that they're getting today is yes, like you said, turning off the past. Let's get on with what's coming now. Let's get on with what's really in front of us and get together on this to make it really mean something for us and for the world in front of us.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I
That,
think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I want to respond to that. And then another dream popped into mind if I could share that, because it is about dying and rebirth.
Yes.
It's a personal dream, but it's also about, again, how we have consciousness is beyond our body, beyond, time and space. So my father had dementia, but he was very bright and he was covering it up. And at some point, his doctor said to him, um, he's going into dementia more. And my father came home, and my brother and I happened to be there with his wife. And my dad said, I'm done. I feel very complete. Thank you. I love you. And I'm done. No more food, no more medicine. So my dad, who was a doctor, chose to die with dignity. And it was over about a 3-month period. And about 3 months in, I had a dream. Let me preface that by saying I had a dream along the way about a spider. So I kept meditating on the image of a spider because I knew it was important. In about 3 months, I had a dream. I was 3 months pregnant and the baby was born prematurely. And I see this beautiful baby boy on the bed and I'm bereft. He's dead. And I'm just grief stricken. And then I put my hand on his chest and I can feel a heartbeat. And I yelled at my husband and I say, the baby's not dead. And then the baby grows into a healthy 1-year-old baby boy and I'm holding him and I can feel him. And I take the baby over to meet his sister, my daughter, who's in the dream. She's small. And she rubs her head on the baby's head and she says, oh, baby. And then I wake up. And when I wake up, I think my dad either passed away last night or will pass away today. And the dream gave me so much comfort and peace because I felt like here he's dead and there's grief, but he grows into a healthy boy on the other side. That's about having new life, both for my dad and for me. So then I go to my closet to get dressed, and there is a spider this big at the closet door. And I yell to my husband and I say, I'm having a waking dream and you need to get up and take it outside. So that was the dream. My dad had passed away that night. It was of enormous comfort to me. But that wasn't the end of the story. So my daughter, who was actually at the time was in her early 20s, and I think she was just 21, and she was in Prague for a year abroad. And I couldn't call her until the next day. So I called her and I said, Grandpa's passed away. Do you want to come home? And she said, no, I don't need to. And I said, okay, but can I tell you a dream? Now, I don't know how your children react to this. My kids kind of roll their eyes. Okay, mom will indulge you. And I said, well, it was really important to me. So I start to tell her the dream. I'm 3 months pregnant. I give birth prematurely and I'm bereft. The baby's dead. She looks at me and she says, Mom, you told me the dream. And I said, Hannah, I couldn't have told you the dream. She says, Mom, you told me the dream. Hannah, I couldn't have told you the dream. Mom, the baby wasn't dead. The baby turns into a beautiful baby boy. And in the morning when you get up, there's a spider this big at your closet door.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. What do I do with this one? I said, well, Hannah, I don't think I told you the dream. And now she's getting mad. Mom's had a senior moment. She's rolling her eyes. And I said, did I tell you about the part where I introduced you to the baby? And she said, yes. And I rub my head all over the baby's head and I say, baby. And in the morning when you get up, there's a spider this big at your closet door. So I said, Hannah, did I tell you that when I woke up, I knew Grandpa had passed away? And she said, oh, you didn't tell me that part. And I said, right, we didn't talk by phone yesterday. And I said, Hannah, are you freaked out? And she said, uh-huh. And I said, do you want to talk about it? Mm-mm. So we didn't talk about it for a couple months. And what she said is she doesn't know if she remembers dreaming that I told her the dream or that she had the dream. But I did say at the time, Hannah, we don't have to talk about it. But the fact that you can hold this portal with me as your grandpa's passed away has just touched me to the core. And this is the way I think we're all connected. We think we're so separate, but we're all connected. Yeah. And there is new life on the other side. So as we're going through what we're going through collectively, I think it's important to remember that.
Yes, it is.
I agree. I think it is really, really important to remember that. And is there some way I was thinking when you were talking about people of collective dreams and things like that. So is there anything that you offer that people could send in their collective dreams that they could share it like either on a social media platform, or is there something to start encouraging these collective dreams from people so we can start finding that common thread with it?
Yeah, I am a little organizationally dyslexic, so I run small groups and we work collectively as well as personally, both with dreams and therapy. Um, but there is a wonderful dream organization that I'm part of called the International Association for the Study of Dreams, IASD, and its website is asdreams.org. And they have studies, they have ways of gathering collective dreams, and they have people paying attention to collective dreams. I'm trying to think of what her group is. Somebody who does 365 dreams is collecting dreams, and somebody else, that's Sivia Gover. Somebody else, Kelly Bookley, is a professor who collects uh, dreams. There's a lot of people involved in that organization, and there are people that work in different ways with collective dreams.
Okay. So, your book, where can people find your book? What's the title of your book?
Oh, thank
Want
you
to
for
share that?
asking. So let me grab it. The book is Tarotpy. It's all in the cards. And this is 40 years of my work, which is integrating tarot into psychotherapy. I have it as a tool for people to use on their own for guidance, and also it's a clinical tool, and it's a profound clinical tool. So this has a lot of case studies as well as my own use of therapy. And it's at Amazon or it's at my website. It's also, if you can support a local bookstore, it's at Chaucer's. It's won several awards. I'm very, very proud of it because it's very
Congratulations.
conversational
Yeah.
and it's got 40 years of work in it in a very easy to read conversational way. I'm in the process of doing another book. So I'm putting out blogs on dreams right now. And I hope that at the end of 2025, I will gather those together and that will be a dream book about this multi-dimensional aspect of dreams.
Nice.
Terrific. Yeah,
Very
well,
nice.
congratulations. Congratulations
Thank
on that.
you.
Good for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's exciting. And that led me into my new question, which you sort of answered, but what's new for you in 2025? Is there anything new besides creating this new book or?
Well, yeah, I'm doing a lot of training. So I'm I've gotten approved as a continuing education provider by my board to train people in therapy and give them continuing education credits. So very focused on training therapists in therapy. Tarot and psychology is trending now. There certainly wasn't when I started in 1983. And it is a profound tool to guide the therapy sessions. And I get more information and profound shifts and insights with people in one session or a few sessions that would take months to years of therapy. So that's what's going on right now. I train lay people as well. They can come into the group as well. But for therapists, I can give them continuing education credits as well as train them in this incredible modality. And
That's
that's where my
amazing.
focus is going next year as well.
Good stuff.
Wonderful. That's amazing. And so then where can people find you?
Okay, so my website is dreamsandtarotpy, TAROTPY.com. And all of the events that I'm doing are on my website, as well as my book. I do monthly groups. And as I said, I keep them fairly small so that everybody gets to work with a therapy layout. I have not been running dream groups. I've been running therapy groups, but people can bring dreams and get further guidance with therapy. And I'm thinking I'll get back to dreams. And then I do private sessions and the training.
Wonderful. And so, my favorite question. If you had a final thought to leave with everybody, what would it be?
Oh gosh. I've probably said this several times already, but your dreams are so profound. Every answer that you need in your life is in your dreams. They will guide you with how to become your most authentic self. And they also will serve all of us in community. So capture your dreams and share your dreams. We all need them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always. Learned so much more, and I love that because I think what this program is all about. Mums, and my vision is definitely to, get people thinking and how to live their best lives. And so I think any of these tools that we can take with us to help us along those ways are always a great benefit to us. And it's always a great pleasure talking to you. You have such a wonderful personality and all your knowledge. So thank you again for being with us.
Yes,
Ah,
thank
you
you
are
very
my
much.
favorite people. It's just always a joy to talk to you, and you just, yeah, you stimulate such interesting conversation. I really enjoy
Thank
it.
you.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
So, yes. And everybody else, tune in next time.
You bet you should.